Well, here I am, my first TEDx talk. I'm excited. I'm stoked. It's a moment. And I thought I was ready, but I had to make a last-minute change to my introduction. I had to change my numbers. You see, I was going to begin here. I was going to say 1 in 44. 1 in 44 8-year-olds is being diagnosed on the autism spectrum in the United States. This is the CDC's estimate of the prevalence of ASD among 8-year-olds. But the CDC changed its estimate. The number has changed from this to this. Now the estimate is 1 in 36 8-year-old children across their surveillance sites has an ASD diagnosis. Do those numbers startle you? They startle me. So chances are you know a child with autism. Perhaps the child is in your school or in your family. Maybe the child is yours. What I believe people need to know is this. Every child with autism will grow up to be an adult with autism. That's just how it is. So the next question is this. Do you know an adult with autism? You probably do. If you don't, you may have seen shows like The Good Doctor that feature autistic characters. Maybe you saw the movie Rain Man. That put autism on our radar back in 1988. Most autistic adults, however, are not medical doctors, and most do not count cards in casinos. That's Hollywood. Now, let's think about those 8-year-olds. They were 8 in 2020. In 2030, they will be autistic adults, age 18. Are we ready to accept them in our colleges and universities? Are we ready to welcome them in the military or in VOTEC? Are you ready to work alongside them in the workplace? I don't think we're ready. I don't think we're ready at all. I have a son with autism. He was diagnosed in 1987. In the 80s, the estimate was 4 to 5 in 10,000 births. They didn't collect data on 8-year-olds at that time. It was a time when many were placed in residential homes, psychiatric hospitals, and institutions. Autism was so misunderstood that the neurologist told us that he would probably be the only autistic person we meet in our lifetimes. They said I needed to go for counseling, and I did. They said my lack of parenting was causing his behaviors. I was to blame. Well, he's an adult now, and the other autistic children he grew up with are autistic men. I know their lived experiences, I know their stories, but I wondered about the stories of other autistic adults. What is their lived experience? So I decided to take a journey to find out. Now, before I begin my story, I have 2 side notes. First, I will use person-first language some of the time and say a person with autism. Other times, I'll use the term autistic person because many autistic people prefer that address. I will use them interchangeably. The second disclaimer is that I will not discuss severe autism or a profound autism diagnosis. That's another talk for another time. So, back to my journey. I started at the CDC's website. They tell us that about 5 million adults with autism are living in the United States. Most still live at home with their parents. Most are unemployed or underemployed, and most have limited options in their communities. Well, no surprises there. Yet I wanted to hear from them in their own words, so I decided to put #autism into the search bar. Lo and behold, the floodgates opened. They're there. The first thing I learned about was this hashtag, nothing about us without us. Let me give you an example. Anyone who still goes on trying to make autistic people do eye contact in 2020 factually has not sought out autistic voices on the matter. That's a fact. And that's inexcusable. It's not okay. Nothing about us without us. That got my attention. Another example is the Autism Self-Advocacy Network in Washington, D.C., a nonprofit run for and by autistic individuals. Their tagline is, "Nothing about us without us." ASON's mission supports autistic people just as they are. ASON believes that autism cannot and should not be cured. What I heard loud and clear is that they are demanding to be a part of the discussions that affect their lives. They demand a seat at the table. The second thing I learned about was the growing number of autistic individuals who consider themselves neurodiverse or neurodivergent. Simply stated, neurodiverse means that even though our brains are similarly structured, they can work in different ways. In other words, we should expect variations in the way a brain works. Here's another group. They call themselves ANU-ABA, which stands for Autistic and Neurodiverse United Association of Behavior Analysis. It's run for and by autistics. Their mission is to promote neurodiverse individuals in the workplace and the concepts of ABA therapies. Which brings me to the controversy surrounding ABA. Applied behavior analysis has been considered the gold standard for the behavioral treatment of autism for decades. It's a system that uses positive reinforcement to shape behaviors and negative reinforcement to diminish or extinguish unwanted behaviors. Some autistic adults tell us that they were traumatized by the experience, suffered physically, and have harmful, lasting effects. Now that one hit me hard because my son's IEPs, his individual education plans, always involved ABA therapy. From my own lived experience and my journey, I have some suggestions for colleges, universities, organizations that want to successfully incorporate autistic adults in their settings. So here's my list. First, create non-judgmental, safe spaces for adults with autism to feel welcomed. Give special consideration to the sensory conditions of these spaces. If there's a change in routines, give plenty of notice because a change in routine can be difficult. Allow the autistic adults to give their suggestions on the agendas, the routines, the sensory conditions of these spaces. Practice methods of dialogue so that they become more comfortable with the exchange of language. And finally, train the neurotypicals, the non-autistic coworkers and collaborators so that they become more knowledgeable about autism. It's when we build knowledge that we build understanding. I've been asked, what are the assets that people with autism can bring to the workplace? So here's a few. First, some have a deep wealth of knowledge about a particular topic, which can lead to knowledge of a lot of facts. That could be a benefit. Some have an acute attention to detail, details that others might miss. That could be a benefit. And my personal favorite is that many of them do not have a social filter. You're going to get the truth. And that could be refreshing. I contacted a friend and colleague of mine, Michelle Vinokurov, an autistic blogger. Michelle was diagnosed with autism at age 2. I asked her, what do you think we can do to give voice to autistic adults? She said, practice active listening. Active listening can lead to understanding and a culture of empowerment and advocacy. It's time to listen. Autistic adults are telling us they're not broken. They don't need to be fixed. I challenge you to believe them. I believe them. And whether it's 1 in 44 or 1 in 36 or 4 in 10,000, that no longer matters. It's time to listen. Listen with me. Thank you.